All right, good evening, everyone. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar instead of an in-person hearing. Will be streamed live over the internet. Dated 11/17/2020, John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you have the con, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Shall I call the first application?
Yes, sir. If you don't mind, that'd be great.
Wonderful. Application number 659-20, Roberto J. Lazo, Sylvia Rue, and Elaine Rue. Permission to leave driveway having a side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet and having front yard occupancy of 54.6% instead of the permitted 35%. Residence B District, west side of Washington Avenue, number 68, 81.3 feet north of Jackson Avenue, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good evening, Roxanne.
Good evening. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's going on? State your case.
We're here tonight in regards to the driveway. The first issue is that it has a side yard of 2 feet instead of the required 4 feet. And then it also has a front yard occupancy of 54.6 instead of the permitted 35. I did speak to the client about reducing the size of the driveway. And we will be bringing it down to about 40% should the board see fit to approve it at the 40% instead of the required 35.
So 40% is the maximum we normally go, as you know. So they're okay with 40%?
Yes.
Okay. And the driveway, we see a lot of 2 foot instead of 4 feet. So I think that's de minimis. Be okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Yes,
Does the board?
we do have someone who wants to be heard, John.
Okay.
Tanya, can you hear us?
You're going to have these people. Hi there.
Hi, name and address for the record, please.
Sure, it's Ethel Kostukiewicz, Kostukiewicz, and it's at 65 Washington Avenue.
How are you?
Fine, fine.
Ma'am, are you related to Robert Kasakevich?
No.
Okay, thank you.
What can we do for you tonight?
Well, the reason I'm here is because the house across the street from me, it's 3/4 of their property is concrete in the front yard, and all down the side is concrete. They have a lot of trucks because of their business there, and the place is AAA zoning, shouldn't be commercial. I bought my house over 40 years ago, and I didn't really want to live in a commercial area. So the trucks that come there, they park on my side, and I do not have a curb. They have a curb across the street, and they dig big holes into my lawn. And I just don't think it's right because it's commercial across the street. I'm not commercial.
Okay, well, I appreciate your concern, and they're here just for the driveway and for the front yard occupancy. The code says 35% front yard occupancy. We give up a little bit of relief to 40. They're at 54.6. They're going to have to cut it down to 40% maximum front yard occupancy. So some of that pavement that you're speaking of, I believe, is going to be cut down to where it's within code. The commercial trucks, that's something you'd have to call code enforcement on, where that's not in front of us, ma'am. I'm sorry. We're just a zoning board.
And can I just ask, sorry, my name is Tanya. I'm just with my grandma here who's calling, but can I just ask, how would we know, like, how does that get enforced that the driveway gets cut down? Because at this point, I think it's been this big driveway for almost 2 years.
Right.
And, you know, I think.
Tanya, two
Yeah.
things. First, if you can just give name and address for the record, please. Just so we
Sure,
have it
my
for the
name is
record.
Tanya.
My address.
Tanya Simon, Simon, and my address is 97 Araca, Araca Road in Babylon.
Great, thank you. So the driveway They're only here because they're, instead of having a 4-foot side yard on a driveway, they're 2 feet. We see that all the time. There's plenty of precedent, I believe, in this area for 2 foot instead of 4 foot. The front yard occupancy, meaning how much of the front yard is not vegetate grass, if you want to say for that. They're at 54.6. The code says 35. We allow a little bit of leniency up to 40%. So they're going to have to cut that down to 40% and take some of that,
Sure.
as your mom said,
And is there,
away.
sorry, is there like a timeline on that? Like when we would expect that they would have not as wide of a driveway there anymore?
Well, they would have to comply with the whatever we approve here tonight. If anything, they'd have to they'd have to comply immediately.
Well, and everything would have to be complete within 1 year.
Yeah, within the permit area. They're
Right.
here for a reason, so.
I understand.
Okay, who do we call for the business?
Code enforcement.
Yeah, the code enforcement. We don't have any jurisdiction over code. We're here for zoning. We can't take any complaints. for
The
that.
real estate's also.
Excuse me?
Okay.
I know. I think we said everything that you wanted to say. I think that's great. We'll call code enforcement, like Town of Islip Code Enforcement.
Yeah, Town of Islip Code Enforcement. Yep, you can put a complaint into them and there.
I called 224-5548.
224-5548.
That's the number I use when I need to call there.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Welcome.
you, guys. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Do we have Mr. Nicolia? I didn't see him sign in. Do we have? him?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to address that to maybe while she's still on, if she wants to listen. They do have an active case. They were given tickets for the business, so they are in the process of rectifying it. And we do have a permit that's issued. It was issued in July, so we'll be complying with all of the requirements of the permit, bringing the house up to code, hopefully within the year.
Great.
What kind of permit do you have?
They had other issues in their house that they had to bring up to code. So there's nothing relating to the business. They'll be removing that, but they have a permit for a garage conversion, a cellar conversion, and a cellar entrance.
Thank you.
Great. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Mr. Nicolia, I'll take a motion.
Oh, you on, Chris? No, he's not there yet, John.
Okay, Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny so much of the application that seeks front yard occupancy of 54.6% instead of the permitted 35%. However, grant 40% instead of the permitted 35% and grant the balance of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Trello.
Next application, number 660-20. Jorge Cuevas Garcia and Altagracia Garcia de Cuevas. Permission to establish a accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602 with driveway having width of 32 feet instead of permitted 24 feet. Front yard occupancy of 42.6% instead of the permitted 35%. Residence B District, south side of Abreu Street, number 40, 430.99 feet west of East Forks Road, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Good evening, Roxanne.
Good evening. So we're here to establish an accessory apartment. It is 480 square feet. The owners do occupy the dwelling, and we're also here for the driveway. There actually is one piece of the call of the meeting where it calls out the width of the driveway, which I believe that code no longer exists as of September. So that can be removed from the call.
Okay.
And we would just have the front yard occupancy at 42.6 instead of the permitted 35.
So you want amended call a meeting to remove with driveway having width of 32 feet instead of permitted 24 feet?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now we have the front yard occupancy. As you know, we see up to 40%. They can make it comply.
Yes.
Okay, and everything's in order. Looks like the apartment's 480 square feet. Everything else is in order, Mary?
Everything else is in order.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Is Mr. Nicole live yet or no?
I don't think
No.
so.
Take a motion, Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Chairman, move to grant the application as amended. For a
Second,
period of 3 years.
second.
We have to, the front yard occupancy is gonna be 40% though, Dan, not 42.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we amended. Did we amend that or no?
No.
As amended with the front yard occupancy granted at 40% instead of the permitted 35. And again, for the accessory apartment for a period of 3 years.
And I'll still second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm still in favor.
Thank you.
Next application number 661-20, Scott and Stacy
Thanksgiving, guys.
Touring.
Good night.
Happy
You
Thanksgiving.
too. Happy Thanksgiving, Roxanne.
Good night.
661-20, Scott and Stacy Turin, permission to install in-ground pool, leaving a rear yard of 10 feet instead of required 14 feet, and leave a shed having a side yard of 0.7 feet and rear yard of 1.1 feet instead of the required 2 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Cedar Point Drive, number 82, 1168.23 feet south of Gate Lane, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
They are here.
The
Scott and
applicants,
Stacy.
they need to unmute
Yep.
themselves.
Got it. They were staying muted as long as possible because they're concerned that their kids would be loud in the background.
That's all right.
We all have kids.
No, we're on.
I think we're here now.
We have
You
no
are
kids.
now.
Okay.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Scott Torin, 82 Cedar Point Drive, West Islip, New York, 11795.
Great. You guys are here.
And,
seeking-
and who's that next to you?
Stacy Torrin, 82 Cedar Point Drive, West Islip, New York, 117.
Lucky for him, huh?
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah?
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Good evening, guys. You're here seeking permission to install an in-ground pool, leaving a rear yard of 10 instead of required 14. It seems you could comply with the rear yard also. Is there any way you can comply and shift that pool forward a little bit?
This would be a good time to see the aerial.
Oh, okay.
Not that I want to answer the question for the applicant. but-
Thank you.
What's that next door? Is that a pool or a tennis court? To
Pool.
the, yeah, right there.
Yeah, well, that's a pool.
Mhm.
Red patio, huh? Are you guys back up to a school, huh? School district?
It's the Islip Marina, the town of Islip Marina, the boat
Oh,
ramp,
yeah, yeah.
baseball field.
All right, and you're complying on the northerly side, the side yard.
Correct. 14 feet off the side. We're requesting the 10 off the back.
I'm okay with that, Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
okay with that too. I didn't see thank God we have Mary to pull out that aerial. See that? It's your lucky night. Mary's here.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Deirdre.
It's all our lucky
you,
nights,
Deirdre.
Mary's here.
I'm assuming Deirdre, from planning, you have no objection due to the nature of where this property sits?
No objections. There's also precedent for rear yards of 7 feet, actually.
Great. And the shed is de minimis. We see them all the time. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you. Well, I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Good luck, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Application number 662-20, Dennis and Justine Mezapesa. Permission to leave in-ground pool having a side yard of 16.4 feet instead of required 18 feet, and pool patio having rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 6 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Wood Hollow Road, number 231, 140.45 feet north of New Street, Great River, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York, for the applicant. As you can see, the pool is 16.4 in the one corner. Looks like the fence on the south side was 1 foot off, and they probably took the ruler and the tape measure off the fence. I believe it's a de minimis request. I don't see it changing the nature and character of the area. I don't see any adverse environmental impact, and I certainly don't think we'll have much opposition. With respect to the patio, as you can see, the fence to the west is approximately 6 feet off the lot line. The mason, I did not install that pool, but we did install the pool, but I did not install that patio. It is my understanding from comments with the homeowner is that the mason was taking it off the fence line from the west, and that's where the mistake came in. He did mistakenly put the patio 1 foot off the west. If you do notice on the northerly part of the property, the adjoining neighbor literally encroaches his stoop onto the subject parcel by about a foot. So in keeping with the nature and character of the area on the patio, you can see that this seems to be some discrepancies in the lot lines going back many, many years. And I don't think any of the neighbors have any oppositions. It's a grade level patio. I don't think it's going to detrimentally affect any of the adjoining property owners if this board saw fit to grant the application.
Only a small portion of the patio, Mr. Bertolino, too, so I don't see it to be an issue. But we'd have to take a vote. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Happy Thanksgiving, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Thank you.
You too.
Next application, number 663-20, Edwin and Amalia Moise. Permission to leave an in-ground pool with a water feature having a rear yard of 15.2 feet instead of required 18 feet, and to leave a deck having a side yard of 3.8 feet and a rear yard of 3.1 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Residence AA District, south side of Sonia Road, number 30, 110.14 feet west of Nugent Avenue, Bay Shore. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
The applicants are here.
Ma'am, how do you have to unmute yourself? We can't hear you, ma'am. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay,
There you go.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, and ma'am, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name so if I ever have to say it again, I'll get it correct?
Moshe.
All right, that was close. Thank you.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is, this is Mr. and Mrs. Moise. I'm Amalia Moise, and my husband is Edwin Moise next to me. I don't know if you can see him. And I'm 30 Sonia Road, Bay Shore, New York, 11706, or Baywood area.
Great. So you're here because you have a waterfall that's a little bit too close on your pool. It only seems to be a small portion of the waterfall. And you're also here for a deck having a side yard of 3.8 and 3.1 instead of 4, which seems de minimis also on that rear corner there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Still not here.
Nope.
All right, Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, and a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Two.
Bye.
Next application, number 664-20. Stefani D. Vasquez, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602. Residence B District, south side of Harrison Street, number 50, 450 feet west of Washington Avenue, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Just move the applicant into the panel. Okay, I'm getting a message that she'll start her video later.
Sorry, no, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry. I pressed the
Welcome.
wrong button. Good evening.
Your name and address for the record,
Record,
please.
please.
Stephanie Vasquez. The address is 50 Harrison Street, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
Great. You're here seeking permission to establish an accessory apartment. Seems to be 492.2 square feet. Driveway was okayed by engineering, correct, Mayor?
Yes,
In
that's
order?
correct.
The
Mhm.
driveway has been approved. We did hear from a neighbor.
Okay, are they here to, I'm going to ask if anyone wants to be heard in a moment. Everything
Yeah,
else?
I don't believe that they're present. If
Oh.
anybody is present, possibly on a call-in number, please raise your virtual hand, and if you'd like to speak, we'll move you into the panel. But I do have a written correspondence here that I can summarize, I think.
Sure, please.
Okay, it's generalized complaints. It seems has the garage been converted? Yes, there's a concern about the conversion of the garage into an apartment. And says it's a quiet neighborhood with single-family homes, and they're concerned. It's generalized complaints about accessory apartments in general, increase in traffic, local incidents of crime, and a burden on the schools.
Okay, although we appreciate that, it's allowed if they meet certain criteria, and it appears that Ms. Vasquez has met the criteria, correct?
Yes, everything has been met.
All right. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I move that we grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great, see you in 3 years. Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Next application number 665-20, Gerard J. and Mary T. Price. Permission to leave deck 3.8 feet high, having a side yard of 4 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence B District, west side of Bohemia Parkway, number 452, 533.27 feet north of Mobile Street, Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Looks like Mr. Kukowski's here.
Mr. Jabkowski, you look better than you ever have, sir.
But does not look like him, but he's muted too. Is
Oh, there he is. Like, you have audio now, Mr. Jabkowski.
Good. Okay. It's Rich Tripakowski.
I believe that leave that the other thing back on.
Agent for the applicant, 173 North Main Street, Sayville, New York.
how are you tonight, sir?
Well, thank you. And you?
Great, thanks. So you have a deck that's a little too close, 4 instead of 6?
Yeah, the requested relief is providing a little less than 4 feet rather than 6 feet for a deck actually applies to a landing with steps from the front yard and down to the rear yard. The actual deck area is 3.5 by 7.3 square feet, not 3.5 by 7.3 feet. Not a practical gathering area that would affect neighbors' privacy, has existed for a number of years and is only a few feet in height with 2 steps to grade. The relaxation, considering the size and setback, is minimal.
And the deck sits more than, other than that little alcove for the
Yes,
steps?
yeah, that's basically the entryway to the deck, so to speak, like the landing going to it.
Great. Deirdre from planning, no objection, I'm assuming?
No objections.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan will take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, next application, number 666-20, Peak Homes LLC, permission to erect a second-story addition, leaving a side yard of 14.2 feet and 18.4 feet instead of the required 25 feet each, and total side yards of 32.6 feet instead of the required 60 feet. Residence AAA District, west side of Connecticut Road, number 198, 300 feet south of Cross Road in Oakdale.
Good evening again, Rich Tripakowski, expediter for the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Tripkowski.
Okay, the relief requested does not expand the original footprint of the home. It is a dormer off the rear to create a master bedroom suite. The rear yard setback conforming is in conformance. The Majority of the dormer will face the rear yard, which there'll be no privacy issues with the neighbors.
Can I ask you a question? I'm looking, you see the survey on the screen, right? Or the site
Yeah.
plan on the screen?
Yes,
So that part in white that's not crosshatched, that's the way it exists now with that narrow, like long hallway?
absolutely correct. And that was allowed, that was originally, it was
Yeah,
approved.
okay,
on-
you don't have to explain it. I mean, it's there, so we assume it's legal. So
Yes.
just an odd shape for a house.
It is.
You know, that's a full 1-story. The crosshair hatch is just the second story above the 1-story. So that's actually a 28 by 40.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's for the second story.
Exactly.
Right. and it's
All
actually
right,
a
I got
dormer.
it.
It's a
I
dormer.
got it. It's
from
still a little
roof
odd
to
shape, but not anywhere near as peculiar as I thought. So
No.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. Does, Deirdre, I'm assuming no objection from planning?
There's precedent for the side yard, so no objections.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Chairman, I move to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion granted. Mr. Kowski, have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You also. Enjoy and be safe.
Me too.
Mr. Nicole, you made it.
My computer is old.
So am I, Mr. Nicole. Number 667-20, Juan Posada. Permission to reconstruct and maintain roofed over patio 13 feet by 24 feet, having a side yard of 2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and to leave a patio having a side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 4 feet. Residence B District, south side of Stockton Street, number 32, 600 feet west of Jefferson Avenue, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Here he comes. Juan, you have to unmute yourself. The little red microphone, click on it.
Got it. Good evening. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm here translating for my dad.
Great.
And your name?
This is Marie.
Marie what?
Marie Lantigua.
An address, please, for the record, Marie.
Yes, this is 32 Stockton Street in Brentwood, New York, 11717.
And please spell your last name for our court reporter.
Sure. Lantigua.
Thank you.
Great.
Problem.
So your dad is seeking permission to reconstruct and maintain a roofed over patio that is a little bit too close, 2 feet instead of 14.
Correct. It's around 1 foot and instead of the required 4 feet.
No, that's another patio. We're talking about the roofed over patio first.
I think it's the same thing. We didn't file this, thing. We hire someone else to do it. We're a little confused on the measurements, to be honest with you, because in reality, there's only 1 patio and it's 1 foot instead of the required 4 feet. I'm not really sure what the other stuff is.
Where I think the confusion comes in is that the patio without a roof covering it is different than just a patio alone that's open to the sky. So you have the patio that's 1 foot instead of 4 foot, which we see a lot of, but then you have a roof covering it. So that's where the issue comes in. You have a roof covering a patio, a roofed over patio. The code in your area, your dad's area, requires a 14-foot side yard.
Right.
Just the roofed over patio,
Right.
not the patio itself, the roofed over.
Correct. Yes.
You only have a 2-foot side yard with that roofed over patio.
Can we see an aerial, please, Deirdre, if you have it? And does the patio show on there? It does, right?
I think it might be over here, at least the concrete patio. I'm not sure if it shows the roof over, but it's on
No, it looks like it's all there.
Deirdre, there's a few instances that I can remember that there have been some precedent for carports or roofed over patio in the Brentwood area. Is this one of them or no?
Yeah, there's a few precedent. There's one for a side yard of 0.4 and then another one for 3.2, but both had the condition that they were never to be enclosed. And then there's a few with side yards of 6 or 6.5, and then more recently side yards of 10.5 and 11.
So if I'm understanding correctly, there is precedent, if I heard you, my connection is choppy at times, precedent for this amount or even less, as long as it's to never be enclosed.
Correct.
Mrs. Applicant, what say you to that?
Enclosed and roofed over, are we talking about the same thing?
They're roofed over patios with the condition to never be enclosed. So
Thank
never.
you. Okay.
Meaning never put glass panes on
Right.
it, doors on it, right? Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
Never make it into a breakfast room or whatever they call it. Something I can't afford.
A sunroom or
Yeah.
Maria, do you understand what Mr.
Yes,
Nicole was
I don't.
stating?
Yes, and I think it's not closed. We haven't really had any complaints, with the neighbors or anything like that. Any issues? We actually asked the neighbor, that was concerning of this.
No one said it is enclosed. We want to make sure that you agree that you never will enclose it.
No, we definitely not.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
never to be enclosed. You can never close those walls in.
And can I just have one question for you, Marie, just to be clear. It says permission to reconstruct, but it's been reconstructed already, right?
Yeah, it's already there. Mhm.
Okay, so permission to leave, we're gonna.
Correct. Yes. I was confused about that too. So.
Remember, calling the meeting to state permission to leave and maintain roof over patio. Correct?
Second.
We just say me. Second.
So
Yeah.
the, patio have a 1 foot instead of 4. That seems de minimis. We see that a lot. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
The application as amended on the condition that it never be enclosed.
Second.
All in favor?
Closed.
You have
Aye.
a great night and have a great Thanksgiving. Marie, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can hear you. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great
Very
night.
welcome. Next application, number 668-20. Ralph A. and Patricia A. Savarese, permission to leave driveway having a side yard of 3.5 feet and patio having a side yard of 0.5 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Shed having a side yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 2 feet. And roofed over patio having a side yard of 13 feet instead of the required 18 feet. Residence AA District, south side of Rockaway Street, number 64, 350 feet west of Greenlawn Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and
Amy,
address for the record, please.
Amy DeVito, Woodhull Expediting with offices at 1031 Main Street in Port Jefferson.
Great, Amy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. State your case.
Okay, so my client, we're legalizing quite a few things at the property at this time. We need the variances as stated by Mr. Vice Chairman. I guess we'll start with the driveway. So the driveway is 3.5 feet where 4 feet is required. The driveway, from what I saw on the aerials and prior to my client's purchase, it looks like the driveway was a little bit more narrow. My clients just repaved it and extended it a little bit to create more room for parking, off street.
You also have a 300-foot deep piece of property, right? And that asphalt driveway extends how many feet?
That as well, let's get the scale ruler out.
I mean, roughly. You don't have to.
I always have one at home. Yeah.
You and the chairman with those scales always.
I love my scale ruler.
He carries one in his breast pocket of his jacket all the
I
time.
have one in my handbag at all times, so I understand. I would say it's probably roughly
30, 40 feet tops.
Maybe 30, 40 feet.
Yeah, I would say so. About 40.
Yeah. Okay. So not even 10% or around 10%.
Right.
All right. So we're good with that.
Okay. And then as far as the paver patio in the back, that's the one, located over by the fire pit, which encroaches very close to the property line. My client just basically made a sitting area with the fire pit on it, or the barbecue pit, or whatever you want to call it. And it's really just for leisure and for hanging out in the backyard. The rest of the area is grass, and then there's a raised wood deck. And we do realize that it's obviously close. I think a lot of people just in general do not realize that there is actually a required setback for, paving and patios.
And they're on pavers, they're pervious, they drain, correct?
Yes, I think I have a picture of that.
Ms. Ryan, can we see the aerial, please?
And Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman, these were the pictures submitted, but you can see that they are pavers and they are permeable.
We could see that from the aerial too.
Okay, good. And then lastly, we have the roof over concrete patio where we're requesting 5 feet in relief. That, I'm sorry?
I don't know where that came from. You can keep going.
Oh, okay, sorry. We had submitted this photo as well, but if you look at the photo, you could see it's just a metal framed roofed over patio. So no intention of ever enclosing it. Actually, it really couldn't be enclosed unless it was completely reconstructed. And it just provides a shade area in the back of the house. Or the side of the house, rather.
Did you, any objection to the roofed over, never to be enclosed awning?
No, not at all. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was for Deirdre from planning.
Deirdre, I always do that to you. I'm so sorry.
No objections.
Don't let it take your paycheck, Deirdre. That's what happens next. Yeah, I have a real concern about the pavers and it being so close, given the location of it. If you take a look, it seems like it's right next door to the dwelling of the adjoining property.
It is very close to the property line. I cannot.
Well, close to the property line is one thing. It was further in the back. Frankly, it would not be of such concern, but it looks like it's right next to the dwelling of the adjoining house. You see that on the aerial, right?
So let me, and I agree with you, Ms. Messina, but so the code says 4 feet. Is that 1 foot it's saying in the call, right?
No, I think it was half a foot or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
And
half a
Mr.
foot.
Messina, not for nothing, but the area it's immediately adjacent to is the drive, or what looks like a driveway. I think it's a driveway or some sort of concrete pathway or asphalt pathway towards the rear of the house.
Yeah, I understand that. The problem is that, you couldn't be in a worse location for something that is so impactful, where people congregate and they'll make noise, and that's going to be rough on the adjoining neighbor.
No, I see that.
But I understand. I mean, it is a flat paver patio, so it's not raised. It's not going to create a situation where they're going to see over the fence or anything like that. I understand what your concern is. Yeah, I understand.
Well, but your answer should be, if it wasn't paved, they could still hang out that close to the property line.
I was going to say they could easily put a picnic table there.
So now, Ms. DeVito, if you're going to take Ms. Ryan's paycheck, I'm going to have to take yours now. So that's only fair play.
It's an even trade at this point.
I don't think so.
So, Vinny, what are you suggesting? I understand the issue, and I know you're always concerned about noise, as am I.
Right. I am, but I think, quite frankly, it is correct that people could congregate there without the pavers and it wouldn't make a difference. So, and they wouldn't need any relief. If you just put down a fire pit there and threw some chairs around it with no pavers underneath it, the same impact would be had and no relief would be necessary from the board. So, I mean,
it also
probably better off for drainage and other purposes that the pavers are there, actually, I would imagine.
And Mr. Messina, it seems that the fire pit is more than 3.5 feet off that property line. So even if they cut it back to the, say, 4 feet, they're still going to be congregating around a fire pit in that area.
The fire pit is 7.7 feet off. So.
I get it. If it was a second story deck or something, I'd have a real concern, but,
Understood. I mean, I do understand the closeness to the property line and the adjoining property, but it's absolutely a fact. Whether there's neighbors there or not, people are going to congregate there. But there's been no complaints from the neighbors, and really ever, as far as them congregating and socializing in their backyard.
How long has that condition existed?
That has been there since 2012. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have no recorded complaints?
No, nobody contacted me as a result of, the variance.
Well, okay, nobody contacted you. Has anyone contacted the town? I mean, how is it that they came to be before us? Are they here in response to summonses?
No, they're actually here proactively just to legalize what they need to so that they are in compliance with town zoning and code ordinance. And, when they want to sell, it's one less thing.
So you represent the unicorn?
I represent
Yeah.
the Pegasus, yes. Yep.
You would have us believe they're model citizens, right?
Something's got to be driving it, but you may not know, but I don't think it's just their public spirited citizens. But
Mr. Wexler, call me skeptical, but I'm with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like to be an optimist, and that there are people out there that just like to do the right thing. In all honesty, though, eventually they will sell the property, and they want to just proactively have this all dealt with.
All right, now, all right.
But not immediately.
That's fair.
They are being proactive.
All right. Thank
Does
you.
anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
I'll
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On the condition that nobody ever congregates on the.
I'm sure they'll be fine with that, even a covenant.
Yeah, right.
Happy Thanksgiving, Ms. DeVito.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Take care.
You too.
Take care.
Next application from a previous hearing, number 413-20, Allied Scrap LLC. Permission to leave accessory building approximately 60 feet by 100 feet, having a side yard of 5.3 feet instead of the required 10 feet, and a height of 19.9 feet instead of permitted 18 feet, and to leave accessory building, a baler hut, having a side yard of 3 feet instead of required 10 feet, Industrial 1 District, west side of Lincoln Avenue, number 1120, 537.49 feet south of McCormick Drive, Holbrook. Mr. Robinson, welcome back.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us come back. We're here before you tonight. I think since our last hearing, we had to reapply or re-advertise for height for the accessory structure. It is 19 foot 10 inches high. On the prior plan, it was indicated to be 18 feet high. We've also submitted 2 exhibits to help explain our case. I don't know if they're available to put up. If not, I can, there you go, perfect. So what we have is a Quonset hut style storage facility that was installed at 5 foot 3 inches off the northerly property line. It was essentially installed right along the existing curb line that's on that was a paved parking area there. What we're indicating on the top exhibit is that the additional 4 foot 9 inches of side yard setback would only impact a small area of the building, roughly 7 foot 9 inches high. So it's a small triangular shaped piece along the side of the building due to the shape and nature of the Quonset hut type facility that exists within the setback. That's roughly. So
that's that right yellow right angle. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, to the right of the yellow right angle is the part that's non-conforming.
Got it. Thank you.
So what we suggest is that the minimal impact of this small piece of the storage building along the length of it actually makes the side yard appear deeper. If you look at the next exhibit down, what we could build as of right would be an 18 foot high rectangular storage facility, 10 feet off the property line, which would actually appear to have a much greater mass on the property than the Quonset hut. That would be if our client had bought a square building, like a Butler type style, style building.
Can you put those side by side, or is that not possible?
What's that?
Can you put those 2 photographs side by side? Oh, like that's okay.
Okay, yep, that works.
So, Mr. Robinson, correct me if I'm wrong, but the visual impact would be far right, because to the right, as we're looking at this photo, would be Lincoln Avenue, correct?
This photo will be taken with your back to Lincoln Avenue.
Okay, so the visual impact from Lincoln Avenue, which is the only place you could see this from, would be far greater using the as of right configuration, right?
Absolutely, and I've submitted photographs from Lincoln Avenue to show that, and they have a very well-established front yard landscaping along Lincoln Avenue. In fact, this is a great photograph. If you look at it right here, you see the curb line that's at the bottom of that stockade fence. That's actually our property line. So it's very well landscaped on our side of the line. In fact, that utility pole that's in the picture is about 4.5 feet off our property line on our property.
Right.
So the impact of this Quonset hut is very de minimis from Lincoln Avenue. It's actually a softer feel than you can see from the building to our north, which has a 2-story high roofed over enclosure that looks like it comes right to the property line. That the maintaining this Quonset height style facility versus building a rectangular conforming facility would have less of an impact from the visual nature.
And can I ask, what is that thing to the right beyond the utility pole?
That's on the property to the north.
I understand that, but is that like an
it's
overhang,
some
an
kind of a
awning?
roofed over outdoor storage area.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, let me ask you, so your clients built that Quonset hut without benefit of a permit, correct?
Correct.
And so, interesting argument. What you're saying is what they could have built would have been much denser and more onerous on the property.
Correct.
So they did us a favor by not getting a permit and building something.
Well, they got lucky by not building something as offensive as it could have been, I think, Mr. Wexler.
Absolutely. If they came to us first, we would have made sure they held the 10-foot side yard setback, which would have been reasonably able to do at the time. Unfortunately, now it creates more of an economic hardship to try to take this building down or figure out a way to chop a piece of it off.
Interesting argument, though. It's kind of, look, what they could have built is so much worse. So we did you a favor.
Absolutely. And 2 properties to the south of us is another metal processing facility that actually got relief from this board in 1989 to build a storage facility at 2.4 feet from the property. Yes, it was 30 years ago, but I was practicing doing this 30 years ago. It's not that old, not that long ago.
So,
but that is literally 2 properties to the south.
Yeah, it was
just
that long ago.
A question of putting it to the board. I understand the argument in this case, and it makes sense in some odd way. It does. But what do we do? And do we need to write on it? Because when the next applicant wants to encroach on the property line and says, you allowed Allied to do it.
Your point is well taken, Mr. Wex. I agree with you. We should.
Are we going to, yeah, thank you. Are we going to collectively, oh, no, let me explain. Mr. Robinson made a really nuanced lawyer-like argument that this was less dense and less onerous. I mean,
I think that's important. Absolutely.
Also, and that's somewhat subjective as well.
I know, but I think we should write on it. And I know Will is listening intently, that maybe you should even include the visual. I mean, in this case, the applicant actually had a competent engineer to show almost mathematically with the red and yellow lines. I'm not quite exactly sure how, but that it is less. It's not, as Mr. Nicole is saying, just subjectively it's mechanically proven, mathematically.
Yeah, we can reference it in the decision. You're right,
Yep.
Mr. Wexler.
I think we should.
Thank you, Mr. Wexler. That's a great idea. Deirdre, from planning, any objection?
No objections. I think from the survey you can kind of see, and I'll pull it up. I don't think they could even really move this building anymore. Sorry, south. Because it looks like there's just a very small walkway in between these 2 buildings to kind of access these concrete pads. I'm not sure what's exactly here. I'm assuming mechanical equipment.
Mechanical equipment, yes.
But it would completely just make a giant wall of building if they tried to move it any closer. So it's kind of like the building's stuck where it is in that sense, but
no objection from planning then.
No objections.
Before we conclude, everybody, we should get a little comment on the Baylor hut. I bet nobody really knows what a Baylor hut is.
Oh, I know what a Baylor hut is.
You do? And why didn't you tell me I spelled it wrong last time?
I don't know why I didn't tell you that. Probably because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. You know how delicate you are.
Well, I didn't spell it wrong. It came to me that way, but I didn't know it was.
Well, now that we're on the record with that.
I'm fine with that.
So the hut fails, basically. It's more of mechanical equipment than a building, right, Chris?
Correct.
Absolutely. It is really a piece of equipment. This is a scrap metal processing facility. The Baylor hut is used. They take aluminum, like old aluminum siding, those kind of things. They put it at the base of the conveyor, which is that piece that sticks out to the east in the picture there. It gets put on there, goes up a conveyor, and they actually just make a bale, a rectangular bale out of the aluminum scrap metal, which is stored on the property and then taken away in bulk. It's a piece of equipment. The hut actually is just only exists up in the air where it covers the mechanical equipment to keep it out of the weather. It's not a structure. There's no habitation inside it. It doesn't even touch the ground other than the columns that support it. It's a piece of equipment. It's one of the many pieces of equipment that they have on the property.
Well, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I can close out this year knowing that I know what a baler hut is.
There you go.
Anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions, further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I move that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. So have a great night. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Great. Thank you very much and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too. Next application number 669-20, Elliott and Jody Cologne, permission to leave pool patio having a side yard of 5 feet instead of required 6 feet and second front yard of 15 feet instead of the required 30 feet, and to leave 6-foot fence having a second front yard of 2.8 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A, 278 District, west side of Twin Court, number 14, 125.46 feet north of Loop Drive, Sayville. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I'm moving them in right now. I think, yes.
There you go.
We're in.
You are in. Name and address for the record, please.
Jody Cologne, 14 Twin Court, Sayville, New York.
Elliott Cologne,
What address are you living at, sir?
14 Twin Court, Sayville, New York.
Just making sure, you know.
How are you guys tonight?
Great, thanks.
Great. Yeah, here seeking permission leaving the pool patio, side yard of 5 instead of 6. Seems the minimum second front yard of 15 instead of required 30.
Yes.
Oh, it just it goes out there in that one area, right?
Right.
All right, and to leave a fence, 6-foot fence having second front of 2.8 instead of 10. Do you understand that code with the 6-foot fence because you're in a second front yard?
Now we do.
Most of ISIP does not understand it, so it's not just you guys, trust me.
I tried to figure out a lot area of this odd shaped parcel.
I'm looking at that right now, Marion. I was going to ask you if you figured it out because you're much smarter than I am.
I wish the surveyors would just put it on. It's so easy.
Well, we should require that from now on, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, if you square it off, Mary, what is it? I mean, it's 91 across by 117. I'm just squaring it off across the top.
Yeah, yeah.
And that would be,
That would be generous to the applicant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's only 10,647.
All right, so they fall into the code.
Well, these are residents.
I'm going with the chairman on that, Ms. Passaro.
They fall into the code. They have this curvature up on the northeasterly side, which we can't really
Calculate, but I'm sure it's less than 2,000 square.
It's less than the 11,250 plus.
Right.
Always get a little cushion. So.
Oh, it's less than 11,250. Yes.
That's our preliminary determination based on the evidence in front of us, Mr. Wexler. Yes.
Well, fellas,
Ms. Passaro.
I'm
Ms.
going to
Passaro.
help you here. Let me speak. If it were less than 11,250, it wouldn't require a variance.
And that's why we're saying it's less than 11,250.
It does need it does need a small variance, though. We can't eliminate that from consideration because it is not.
Well, we can with a finding and an interpretation.
Well, that's why I said if we if we squared it off and then added in some sort of rough calculation of that curvature up in the northeast, and we're probably at the 11,250 or a little bit over, which we always give a little cushion anyway for. So that's why.
So we can give the variance out of an abundance of caution. However, we can state in our decision
Thank you.
that we don't
Yes.
believe that it's necessary.
Let's not eliminate it from consideration.
Oh, Ms. Passaro, the things we do to satisfy you.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any question? Ms. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Grant, you guys have a great Thanksgiving.
Good
Thank
night.
you. You too.
also.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, next application number 670-20, Joseph V. Piscola and Eileen O'Hara Piscola, permission to install in-ground pool with water feature having a rear yard of 6 feet instead of the required 10 feet, and leave a shed having a second front yard of 6.9 feet instead of the required 20 feet, Residence B District, southwest corner of Chris Lane, number 119, and Chris Lane, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
See if they need a little help.
Yes, good evening,
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Joe Piscola and Eileen Piscola, 119 Chris Lane, West Islip, 11795.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. So your water features 6 instead of 10. The pool appears to have 10 feet. The proposed drawing doesn't show what it would be.
No, it would be the 6 feet from my neighbor's fence.
No, I understand that. So that's like the little coverage of the water feature. I'm saying the rest of the pool though.
Oh, no, it would be about 22 feet from the Chris Lane
No,
line.
no, you see where
No,
you,
on the west side.
yeah, you see where your little bump out is of the water feature. It says 6 feet.
Oh, right, the water feature is not going there though.
It's going on the south side, right?
Yes, on the
Yeah,
south
it's where
side.
there's like a 3. I think
Yeah.
that's where it goes, right?
Yeah, right. It looks
Yeah,
like a
correct.
3. You're right.
Correct.
It's a W. for
Or
water.
an M if it's upside down. I don't know.
Gotcha. So you have a little curvature there in the pool. Then I assume the water feature was going where that curvature was. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I can't read this stuff. I got to get glasses, I think.
Would you prefer if I took some pictures? Do you want me to share my screen? I could show you my backyard.
Oh, that would be exciting.
Oh, no.
I love when applicants share their screen.
No.
No?
You can share a screen.
That can go horribly wrong.
What?
No, but I don't
You're more than welcome, but I'm not sure it's
think
needed.
we need it. We know that's the pool. It's not the
Okay.
water.
We could look at the survey then, sure.
All right, there you go.
My point to you, sir, was that little bump out where the 6 feet rides against that east-westerly property line, the rest of the pool seems to be complying as it curves in to the 10 feet or closer to the 10 feet, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Now the shed, 6.9 instead of 20 behind the front line of the house. How long has that shed been there?
I would say about 3 years, maybe.
Wah, wah, wah. All right. The issue is that they changed this code to state that a shed has to be 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, not 10 feet, when I think back in 2003, Mary, it changed?
12.
Well, I'm always screwing that up. I always say 2003. You notice that? 2012, it changed. So that shed has to be moved a little bit west on your property.
Oh, John, isn't it a second front yard that's in the call? So it would be north that it has to move.
It is a second front yard.
I apologize. To leave second front yard, 697 required 20. All right. It's got to be north. I apologize.
Not many places you can go north.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi,
right.
This is Eileen O'Hara Piscola. Good evening. So if we move it north,
Right, that's a concern. There's not many places.
No, you can't move it north. You can't stay in that area. There's no
I
way.
made a mistake, Ms. Piscola. I apologize. I read it wrong.
oh, okay.
You'll be up against your dwelling if you moved it north.
Mr. Chairman, what type of precedent do we have for the 6 feet on the pool?
Well, it's only that little curve. I don't know if we have any.
Yeah, it's just that
I don't
little
think we need it.
curvature.
is 10 feet. I really don't, but
There is a precedent in the area for a rear yard of 6 feet, and then the next one up is a rear yard of 8 feet.
so we have one at 6 feet.
Yeah, and this isn't even the whole pool at 6
Yeah,
feet.
the precedent at 6 feet, was that the whole pool? Or was that a bump out?
I'm not too sure.
And did they have water in that pool?
What do you, did they have water?
No, Mr. Messina, we've seen applications here that the pool was full of construction debris,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
particularly on Fire Island.
So what are we gonna do with the shed, Mr. Chairman?
Deirdre, there's no precedence for the shed, right, in the second front yard?
No precedent for the shed. They'd have to move it to the northwest corner, really over here, just to be 20 feet behind this front line and enough from the other second front yard.
Yep.
Or just further in the backyard, really.
Miss Piscola, do you understand what Deirdre was saying?
So the shed has to be moved to the northwest side?
Correct.
Correct.
How far from, because there's, my concern is there's not that much room back there. So how close to the fence can we get on the northwest side?
4 feet?
4 feet.
Oh, no, 2.
2 feet?
Yeah, if as long as it's less than 140 square feet, is it?
It's 12 point something by
7.9.
7.9. Yeah, so yeah, it is under 200 square
And
feet.
it has to be 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling also.
And we're not allowed to put it on the northeast side? Because I have a section of our property,
Then
which
you
is,
violate the setback from the front yard.
Has to be behind the dwelling, ma'am.
20 feet behind the dwelling. So you could put it on the northeast side, but it has to be 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling.
How would you put it on the northeast side and be behind the dwelling at all?
You can't. Remember, there's a second front yard.
West.
Yeah, that's
No,
the second.
You guys are all, no, she's saying right over here,
Where?
the northeast side, and the other side to take the shed and go all the way to the opposite side of the house.
North-
If she put it over there, 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, she could put it there.
That's not northeast.
That's
Still northwest.
that's the northwest.
No, we're getting all
That's
confused
that's
by this
northwest.
property here.
That's northeast, according to the
We are
site.
to,
No,
No,
northwest.
look at the compass rose.
I'm looking at the
It
compass
says
road. It says northeast.
It's just
The
north.
northeast would be the exact opposite side of the house,
Yeah,
and then back a
exactly.
little
That's
bit.
what I'm talking- That's what I'm talking about.
If she can make the 20 feet there, then
That's what I'm saying.
Who's on first?
The compass road says northeast, the other side of the house. I read service every.
Well, in
I'm
any
not-
event, you
I'm not
can't
sure
leave it
we
where it
can
is.
from the house.
right.
I think
Yeah,
that was the northwest corner.
Let's not get that started again, Mr.
All right, you know what?
Wexler.
Gotta comply. That's all I can say.
There you go. You got to comply.
ready.
That's right. Put it wherever you want that complies.
Do you guys understand that, Mr. and Ms. Piscola?
I mean,
You don't-
yeah,
You don't like it, right? You don't like it, but you understand it.
Right, we understand and we're not crazy about it. So it needs to be 2 feet from the fence and
Right.
20 feet from the house, the house line.
The front.
20
front
feet from the front
line
of the house.
Right, from the
So it has to
front
be-
of the house.
So it has to be 20 feet behind that front corner of your house. Doesn't have to be 20 feet off the side of your house.
20
And
feet.
it doesn't, and not 20 feet from the back corner of the house, the front.
Correct.
The front.
Yes.
Oh,
And that includes the roof over the stoop. So it's the part of your house that's closest to the street property line. So
Yes.
you have the extra benefit of the roof over your stoop. So if you think about a projected
A
line
few more feet.
on the perpendicular to your side property line, that's where you would set back 20 feet from.
Oh, okay, right. Then we'll have them more than 20 feet because right now, okay. We're just gonna, based on what I see here, the shed is just gonna move to the left.
Well, that's
The other side of the house.
That's going to have to comply. That's all.
Okay, I'm ready to make a motion.
I'm with you, Mr. Wexler.
Mr. Chairman,
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
thank you. I'll make a motion that we grant the pool and deny the shed.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Piscola, if you want to give planning a call, they can probably tell you exactly where that would need to go and let you, before you make a move and it's not in the correct area that you want it. Probably give them a call and they'll help you out with that.
Okay, sure. Do you have the planning number or should I just look up online?
224-5450.
224-5450, as Mr. Messina would say.
Got it. Thank you.
Have a
Full
good
service.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You
Thank you
too.
very much. Enjoy.
Bye.
You too. Next application, number 671-20, 31 Gale LLC, permission to erect roof deck 14.5 by 18 feet, leaving a side yard of 13.25 feet instead of required 15 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 32.52% instead of the permitted 30% residence of BAA district, southwest corner of Gale Avenue, number 31, and Bayview Avenue, Seaview, New York. Mr. Dunn, are you here?
Good evening. Yes, I'm here.
All right.
How are you?
Name and address for the record.
Good.
You know the drill.
Yeah, Michael Dunn, DUNN, 1981 Union Boulevard in Bay Shore, New York. I'm here for Dave Pearson. He would like to say a few things after me as well.
Okay.
All right. So they're asking permission to erect a roof deck. The side yard setback is 13.25 instead of the required 15. So that is going to be built over or planned to be built over an existing sunroom that's there. And we are over the FAR by a little bit, just at 2.52%. So we're asking for minimal variances for this roof deck. We did get a letter, you probably did too, from the association saying they're okay with it. And I believe the neighbor to the west is okay with it as well.
So,
It's a
Mr.
new
Dunn,
neighbor in there.
that was a very nice presentation. And I will just give your client the benefit of saying that it can only go worse from here.
Okay. He's going to give the heartfelt speech.
I think it can only go worse from here.
I think
Okay.
it's good.
I'm going to say it a third time. It can only go worse from here. So.
Okay, let's say that's the end of the presentation.
Thank
All right,
you.
there we go.
Anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Just me, Mike. I don't have that letter, so just email it to me when you get a chance.
Okay, I'll do it in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Yeah, well, I would have liked to have heard from the applicant. I'm okay. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thank you. You too.
Thanksgiving.
Everyone enjoy.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn, just to your client, sir, Mr. Pearson, that was the best presentation of the night.
I wish everybody on Fire Island would give the same presentation.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So Mr. Dunn did you well here, sir.
Well, thank you
Thanks,
and have
guys.
a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Next application number
Thank you.
672-20, Jesus and Yvette Babylonia. Permission to erect a detached garage 26 by 27 feet, having a side yard of 5.4 feet instead of required 10 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 28.2 instead of permitted 25. Residence B District, north side of Prospect Place, number 193, 85 feet west of Manatuck Boulevard, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
You're here.
Ooh, excuse me.
There you go. Just have to unmute yourself, sir. There you go. Very good. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Okay, good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Jesus Babylonia. With my wife Babylonia. I live at 193 Prospect Place, Bay Shore, New York, 11706.
Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Okay, great.
So you're here seeking permission to erect a detached garage, a little too close to the property line.
That's correct.
We have a saying here at the board that if you can comply, why won't you comply?
No, I will comply.
Mr. Chairman, I think if you look at the survey, it shows that there's an existing garage at the same setback.
It's much smaller though.
Correct. Correct. Although smaller in total square footage, but in terms of impact on that side yard, probably about the same.
What? if I may inquire, you can comply or you can build a smaller garage. You have an option. You're at 702 square feet and you're allowed 499.
Mr. Babylonia, what Mr. Wexler is saying is that if you came off that side yard 10 feet, then you wouldn't need us and you could have that side garage. But if you,
Chairman, I understand what you say. The problem is, look at my property. It's not square like anybody else.
I understand that, but you were talking about the westerly property line where you're looking to build the structure 5.4 feet.
That's correct.
So you can make the garage smaller and you don't need us, or you can move the garage over and you don't need us.
The problem is I cannot move I cannot move it further down because I'm going to build 2-car garage. It's going to be 2 doors and I need the room.
Then you have to make it smaller. That's what the code says, less than 500 square feet.
All right, but I disagree, Mr. Chairman, with Mr. Wexler, with you and the chairman. I mean, the impact to the adjoining property is exactly the same. There's probably the exact same amount of linear feet that's that close to the property line. Who cares how far it goes away from the property line as long as it doesn't implicate any further setbacks?
I don't
So I don't think that you're replacing it with anything that's going to be any worse or create any worse a condition. And I know you disagree, but I don't think it creates any worse of a condition than presently exists on the property. So,
but I don't see the need to create precedent when they have options.
But it's there already. Is the existing garage CO'd, Mr. Chairman?
The existing garage is 2-car built-in garage, it says.
Keep going.
Hold on. Convert garage living area, addition of dwelling, accessory structure, metal shed. Accessory detached garage wood frame, 425 square feet. Yeah, December of 2000, they CO'd a 425 square foot detached garage, correct?
Right. So the town is already blessed, if you will, a structure having that setback on that property for that amount of linear feet. And
But
nothing is changing in that regard.
But the code
But
does say 4 feet.
I'm sorry. It's 60% smaller
Well,
existing.
but it doesn't matter. Again, the impact.
Size matters.
No, well, no. I'll say no for the record. You understand my point. You can accept it or not, but you understand my point. So
No, I certainly understand it.
And I've made it, so that's fine. Thank you very much for that.
I
And you
don't
guys
know.
do what you want to
Before
do.
we vote, maybe Mr. Nicolia and Mr. Sullivan want to chime in.
I agree. It's not going to have any much more of an impact than it does now.
Agree.
Height is in the call also.
Well,
Oh, no, it's not. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm
no,
thinking
there's
of
no
another-
height.
I'm thinking of another.
Narrow.
Height is not in the call. Important to note.
They usually, well, you're used to seeing height on garages, but just this one doesn't happen to have it.
Yeah, and as far as the impact and the comment that the size does matter, I think some of the town's concern in the year 2000 in adopting the increased setback for accessory structures over 499 was the potential, not only the impact, but also the potential for a use that wasn't consistent with residential zoning.
But you cannot presume an illegal use.
Correct.
We are not allowed to do that.
Correct.
So,
that's what inspections are for.
amen.
Right, and I think that without height, it's indicating that it truly will be just a 2-car garage.
Yeah, fair.
Well, as our old chairman used to say, we could have a vote and see,
Look, if we're not unanimous now, why don't we reserve and we can discuss this further?
I don't think we need to. I think-
Let's ask the applicant what brings them here.
Listen,
Actually, it's proactive.
Right. I want to avoid it. I want us to be unanimous when we can be at all times.
Yeah, but here's the thing:
So
it's
if it's
November. I don't know what their construction timeline is. If they're
Probably
going to
already
get blocked out
passed.
with yeah, probably. Why don't we ask them though?
You can't pour the concrete. Mr. Wexler, would you prefer that we reserve?
I would.
Okay, so then I'll honor my colleague's request and I'll make the motion. Well, after the public gets a chance to be heard, I'll be making a motion to reserve.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. and Mrs. Babylonia, we have 62 days by law to render a decision. We're going to discuss this with each other at the board and argue about it a little more. And we'll be back to you as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for your time, okay? In this critical moment, I appreciate you guys' time, okay?
We appreciate yours too, sir. Thank you.
Great Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too, guys, okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Next application number 673-20, Robert W. and Elizabeth M. Vanderhoff, permission to leave carport 11.8 feet by 23 feet, having a side yard of 2.19 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, west side of Udall Road, number 110, 58 feet north of Duffin Avenue, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She's here. Just unmute yourself, Elizabeth. There you go. See the little red microphone with the cross through it? There you go.
Okay. Am I here?
Yep. Your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Elizabeth Vanderhoff, 110 Udall Road, West Islip, New York, 11795. Bob?
Good evening, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Robert Vanderhoff, same address.
Right. How you doing, sir?
We're good, thank you.
So you're seeking permission, carports 2.19 instead of 14.
Correct.
How long has that carport been there?
About 24 years.
All right, Deirdre, any precedent in the area for a side yard setback of a carport?
No precedent.
I didn't think so. So you see our issue, right? There's no precedent in the area for a carport or a covered patio concrete structure that's that close to your side line, property line.
Could we see an aerial, please, Ms. Ryan, if you have it? Okay, thank you.
The full screen, right?
That's the property right there, Deirdre? The arrows over?
Yep, and this is the side I believe the carport is on.
Yep, you
What
can
is
see
the
it.
property to the north of?
Yes.
Okay, I can't see what you're looking at.
She's all in the screen with just a little thing on the side. I don't know what.
What can I hit to minimize it so I could see everything?
We're not tech support. We can barely do it ourselves.
Wait, there's view options. 1 second.
Don't play with it.
Let me do a side by side.
Oh no, not that button.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
What's the property to the north?
The property to the north is my house at 120 Udall Road.
Do you own that property as well?
No. We're the house with everything in the yard.
Yeah, we see you got a lot going on there.
Cleaning
Man.
up.
We're going to a gated community.
They'll never let us in.
Looks like you have a gated community on that parcel.
Well, the pool is gone.
Everything's gone.
There's a lot of things gone.
Yeah. The problem is it's just lot line to lot line, and there's no precedent for that in the area.
Okay, now here's what I have to say.
Please.
There are other houses in the neighborhood. Around the block, there are 2 houses that have the carport or a covered patio with a setback that's actually close to the property line. And I know I sent you some pictures, but I do have pictures. It's on a Linda. There's 2 different houses. There's
Doesn't mean that they're legal, ma'am. We appreciate them, but it doesn't mean that they're legal.
Right. They may be
okay.
just as illegal as yours.
If you want to give us the address, we can send inspectors out and tell them.
No, not unless you have to. But now,
If you want to turn in your neighbors, be our guest.
now No, I don't want to turn my neighbors in.
I know you don't. I'm teasing.
But now we built this carport because living on Udall Road, it really is, it's an expressway. It's a hardship. We had to keep our cars off the street. I have a list of 8 car accidents that were right here in a like half-mile
Not that
area.
far, but through 3 houses.
5 houses. And one was a fatal accident at 38 Udall Road where a 15-year-old was riding his bike.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with where you park your car.
All of that, and I'm sure the board.
Well, I
doesn't-
want my cars off the street. So
Hold on, the drive, let me take a second. The driveway doesn't even connect to your carport according to your survey, so
Right.
that argument I appreciate it, and we know how busy Udall Road could be, but the carport doesn't even attach, your driveway doesn't even attach to the carport, so how would you?
No, I know. And there is a car underneath it so it's being used as a carport. But in the past, when the
Well, what do you drive across the grass?
Well,
It's a classic. It doesn't move.
it's a classic car. It's
I
not.
see.
And that's for sale too.
You know,
Matter of fact, your building inspector wanted to buy it, but it's
it's too pricey for a public servant.
I know it is.
Mr. and Mrs. Vandorf, so I'm just gonna cut to the chase with you guys. There is no precedent in the area for this relief. We haven't seen it. We would have to give it to everyone that asked for that relief. If we give it to you and set a precedent in the area.
You
that's
did
not
give it to someone tonight on one of the.
In your area?
No, wasn't in
Town
your,
of
I
Islip.
believe it was Brentwood or Islip Terrace.
And there were others in that neighborhood. That's the
Yeah.
We just have 2
there aren't any in yours.
Was
So-
it a house in Brentwood? But it's the
Well,
town of Islip.
Brentwood, what we could do is we could reserve decision that would take us 62 days by law to render a decision, and it appears that you guys are in a little bit of a time frame because you're going to a gated community, which you stated, not me. Or we can discuss how we can rectify the situation now, which would be making that side yard setback a less obtrusive to your northerly property.
The neighbors aren't complaining, and we intend to keep the whole thing wide open. It's never going to be closed in.
Can I make a suggestion we reserve decision?
Yeah, that's a
Second.
good idea. Yep.
That always means no.
No, not
Not
necessarily.
always. Not always.
Talk about it.
And by the way,
Sometimes it means, oh,
go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Nicole.
sometimes it means we want to find a way to make you happy.
I hope so. I had a clamming ticket one time, and they gave me reserve the decision, and it didn't turn out well.
How?
Well, we're not judges. Thankfully.
Islip has a long history with clamming
Well, with
tickets.
the exception of Mr. Wexler, we're not judges.
Okay. Try and make it work for me, please.
We'll take our very best look.
All right, and then we should be heard in this application. Does the board have,
I'm sorry, what?
does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have 60 days by law. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and have a great Thanksgiving.
And we're not
Thank you.
Thank you.
guilty of clamming.
Yes. You are not guilty of clamming on the property.
No.
I did it for 20 years out there.
Oh, God bless.
And only one ticket.
Yeah, that's not bad, right?
Bad at all.
There you go. All right, thank you. Next application, number 528-20, Alexander Mark Stavis, permission to leave shed and patio on rear property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Holman Avenue, number 14, number 138.78 feet south of Gibson Street, Bay Shore. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Anyone there?
He's here. Sean, you have to unmute yourself. This is the second time we're hearing this.
Yes, well, you could tell from the number.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have said adjourned from September 8th, 2020. I apologize, Ms. Pissarro.
No, that's okay. Hopefully, the representative will tell us that in his presentation.
I'm sure he will.
There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Mr. Castman. How are you tonight?
How you doing? Good evening, everyone. How's everyone going?
Good. Your name and address for the record, please.
John Castman, 83 Carlton Avenue, Central Islip, for Alexander Stavis. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, we were asking for a permission to leave the shed. My client family has owned the property since the 50s, and the shed apparently was there when they bought the property. I had provided some affidavits, some pictures that you guys had requested after the last date that we had to show, give you more of a better idea of where the shed and the patio is. And affidavits from a number of neighbors, 2 of them doctors that grew up with my client. That's basically a flower bed.
So the affidavit, I don't see the affidavits. The affidavits are stating that that the shed has been there for a certain.
Yes, that's my client when he was a boy. There's a shed in the background. Yes, I had uploaded the affidavits. They confirmed that I thought they got the affidavits. I sent a bunch of stuff, but that's my client when he's a young boy or young man. So see, the shed is there.
The pictures are nice, but I'm not sure we know if that shed isn't that same shed that we're talking about. Do we have affidavits, Mary, that we can see, or do you have them, Mary?
I imagine I do somewhere. I didn't know that we were turning this into a non-conforming hearing.
I can say that I'm somewhat more than fairly familiar with the area, and I would say that this type of structure on the property line in the rear where the water is not even remotely close to out of character for the neighborhood.
Okay.
The reason that we fell into some confusion and asked for photographs, and I don't recall asking for affidavits, but the reason that there was some confusion was the odd reference on the survey using the capital letters BHD.
Right. I remember that. I remember we had discussion about that.
Right.
I
So
think that was the bulkhead. That's what my client indicated after speaking with the surveyor.
no, it's behind.
Behind shed.
Surveyor is calling out the distance that
Behind the shed.
the shed, yeah.
Right, but that's not a concern for us.
It only is, and I'm not suggesting we amend the call because I don't want to touch this call, but the shed's not on the property line. The property line is in the middle of home. I thought that was Holman's Creek, not Connecticut Creek, but the shed is apparently whatever that distance is. I can't read it on my laptop screen. 3 feet from the edge of the bulkhead.
Yeah, that's not in front of us though. So let's not make it in front of us.
It is in front of you because the planter is why zoning wrote it as 0. And that's why we asked the applicant to take photos of the planter. So,
So we have them now. That's satisfied, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So Deirdre from planning, any objection?
No objections. There's a shed right up against on the other side of the property line, and it's just up against their bulkhead.
Okay, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
We did have a neighbor express concern on the condition of the bulkhead, and maybe you can see from those photos that it does seem to be dated.
Yeah, except we don't have jurisdiction over
That's
that.
not in front of us.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great Thanksgiving and have a great night.
Thanks, you guys too. Have a good Thanksgiving, everyone.
You too, Sean.
Appreciate it. Take care, fellas and ladies.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, next application number 674-20, Deborah Zaffron, permission to leave a 1-story addition 9.8 feet by 18.9 feet, having a floor area ratio of 33.41% instead of the required 30%, to leave 2 sheds, shed number 1 having a rear yard of 1.2 feet instead of required 10 feet, shed number 2 having a rear yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 10 feet, and side yard of 2.2 feet instead of required 10 feet, and to leave a hot tub 7.2 feet by 7.2 feet, exceeding the maximum dimensions, 7 feet by 7 feet, for hot tub consideration. Wow. Residence BAA District, west side of Pine Walk, number 140, 160 feet north of Maple Court, Kismet, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We have the
You know,
applicant.
Ms. Zaffron is here, Mr. LaCarrie is here, but he is muted and his camera is off.
And I'm sure he wants to speak to us. So
I'm
Tom,
sure he does. And I'm sure he will be eloquent.
Tom, you have to, and he's a Zoom novice, so turn off the microphone. There's a little red microphone. You have to click on it to activate your voice. I'm also going to ask you to start your video. So lower left-hand corner, you should have.
There you go, Tom. You got your
am I good
microphone
now?
going.
You're
Got
good.
your microphone going. Good job.
Now what about you need a picture of me?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
be nice.
Because how could we not see
I
the
put a tie on for the
magnificence?
occasion. What do I do the picture here? Oh God, I knew I should have.
Right by the mic.
I knew you shouldn't have worn the tie, Tom.
Right by the microphone, you should have.
Start video.
That's
There
it.
you go.
There you go.
Am I good?
There you go.
Oh,
We
there
can
I
see
am.
you too.
Hello, gentlemen, members of the board. I'm sorry. I hope to exceed Mr. Dunn's presentation on his Seaview property. This is another Fire Island property. It's owned by Deborah and Sid Zaffron. There's three aspects to this. The FAR, first of all, the property size is 80 by 80. The FAR variance, which is approximately 3.4% off the required 30%, is de minimis. I don't think that should present a problem in that there's been numerous applications in Kismet that have exceeded even 50% on a floor to area variance. There's two pools there. The above ground pool has been removed because it just probably wouldn't have been granted due to the requirement that the property size has to be 12,000 square feet.
So you put a hot tub in instead?
The hot tub was there. The hot
So
tub. was there.
I don't want to interrupt you. Ms. Ryan, can you explain to me what exceeding maximum dimensions for hot tub consideration means? I've never heard language like that before.
Can I go into, I know.
Oh, listen, if you want to jump in, Mr. LaCarrie, God
No,
bless
Mr.
you.
LaCarrie, can I suggest that you let Deirdre handle this for you, this part?
You're on.
But if you guys
Colleague to colleague?
If the board, if
Thank
the
you,
board
Chris.
members, we've heard one of these hot tub situations in Fire Island before. And,
I agree with you, Mr. Chair. It's just the language I couldn't resist.
yeah. This guy's hungry. You see the size?
Hot tub consideration. Woo.
Well, since you like it so much, I have to take some credit for it.
And if I was mocking, you'd have to take the blame.
No. I thought you were.
I am not, though. I am not.
You are.
I am really intrigued by it.
Tom, if you want to take a stab, go right ahead. But there's, I think in 2006, we created a provision to allow a hot tub of no greater than 7 by 7. I think it says, and 49 square feet.
It says 49 square feet is what I understand the code to be. If you, and in fact, there was a decision in 2016 in Seaview, which was similar to this. The exterior dimensions of the hot tub exceeded 49 square feet. The interior dimensions were far less than that. In fact, I have some photographs that I've submitted.
And what are your interior dimensions here, sir?
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, the interior dimensions are, I have it written down, and there's some pictures in there with the actual measurements, if you want to.
Is this the same situation, Tom, where the exterior is greater than 7 by 7, but the interior is
Interior
less?
is approximately 6 by 6.
Right. I remember the case.
Because me too. Because there's coping on the end of the
Right.
tub.
Right.
Over the side of the tub, which makes it a little bit bigger. I don't think we should waste too much time on this. I
No, it took all the mystery out of it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we could go on to the next section.
If the board's okay with it, I'm okay with it. But
You're okay with it, I'm okay with it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
One last thing, since you're all okay, I did check in with zoning on
That can't
interior, exterior, and the nuances of this hot tub provision. And another individual in zoning did note that it doesn't maintain a 60-foot front yard from Pine. So I know it's not in the call of the meeting. I don't think it would be overly offensive for the board to note its presence, not maintaining 60.
Okay, so I would say that we should do that in the decision,
Thank you.
the written decision, please.
That can
Okay,
be
yeah,
done.
and it's hard when you have an 80 by 80 foot piece of property. It's hard to maintain front yard setbacks as well as all the rear yard setbacks, which brings me to the sheds. There are two sheds that have been there for at least 22, 23 years, maybe more. in Fire Island, as you gentlemen and ladies know, the sheds are our storage facility. We have no basements. All of our deck furnitures, our lawn furnitures, our lawn cutting equipment, everything is stored in our shed.
Tom, do we have an aerial, or Deidre, do we have an aerial? What's on the other side of the sheds?
Yes, on the property to the east of the shed is owned by a Gene McGonigal. Now, if those of you who've been there, that property probably should have long been condemned. It has not been renovated since Sandy. There's a shed right up against the property line on the property to the east. That's the McGonigal property.
You mean west, Tom?
I'm sorry, to the west. I apologize, to the west. On the property to the south, there is a cottage or an accessory structure that's 2 feet from the property line.
Right.
Okay, you made your point.
Yep.
And also, there's one more. There was, if you look at the,
I think you're ahead of the game, Mr.
all right, I'll let it go.
Listen, just think, Michael Dunn. Michael Dunn.
All right, Michael Dunn, I'm done. Okay.
Deirdre, I'm assuming there's no objection from planning with the FAR and the sheds and
No objections. There's precedent for the FAR. The shed rear yard precedent goes up to 2.4, so this would be 0.4 more. It's not huge. And then there's precedent for the side yard of 2 feet.
Perfect. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Happy Thanksgiving, Tom. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate the.
Good job, Tom.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary, for the help. Okay. Bye-bye.
Next application number 675-20, Nicholas J. Mata, permission to erect a 2-story dwelling on a lot having an area of 38,769.22 square feet instead of the required 40,000 square feet, an effective lot area of 31,206.46 square feet instead of the required 40,000 square feet. Residence AAA District, south side of Milne Avenue, 1,715.99 feet east of Blydenburg Road, Hauppauge. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
All right, can you see me?
Mr. Zapka, I see you.
Yes,
Hello?
so James Zapka from Todd O'Connell Architects.
Okay. There's a Mr. Burke here.
Yes, we're here.
Oh, okay. You're not John Burke, the lawyer, are you?
No, John Burke, the
All right, don't say it like that. There's nothing wrong with being John Burke,
He's
the
one
lawyer.
of the other 40,000 John Burkes that live on Long Island.
Exactly. I couldn't see, so I just wanted to make sure, so I didn't have any.
Real quick, can we just see an aerial of this?
Can we let Mr. Zapka say his name and address for record?
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't have a conflict. I apologize.
That's my concern as well. Okay.
Mr. Zapka, if you would like to proceed with your application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. James Zapka from Todd O'Connell Architects, 1200 Vets Highway, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. We are here tonight to ask relief from the required minimum lot size for a AAA resident zone. The requirement is a 40,000 square foot lot. We currently have a lot size of 38,769.22 square feet, which this is a new one for me. With steep slope of 15%, that actually reduces the lot down to a 31,206.46 square feet.
So you're getting penalized for the slope?
Yeah, apparently you do get penalized for a steep slope of 15% within town code.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Thankfully, that doesn't affect the FAR. We still are in compliance with all our zoning requirements. So we are here strictly tonight based on the lot area. So as the location of this lot, this is a dead-end street. The way this, I guess, the street and Dublin was divided up, it was a couple of lots, and this was the sub parcel at the end. If you're familiar with the overhead there, you can see that this lot backs the power lines on the one side and the Hyatt Regency parking lot to the other, which we feel with this request that we're asking for is just kind of de minimis, as it's not going to be a detriment to any other houses in the neighborhood. I do know Mr. Burke is the one house that does abut, but we feel that that shouldn't have any impact on his property, even with the steep sloping coming into play.
Let me ask you a question. Was this a subdivision?
I don't know if it was a subdivision, but it was divided.
Well, I mean, at some point it had to have been,
It
right?
had to have been divided at some parts. This is a single separate
Yeah, here's
parcel.
my question. My question is, I never loved the application where it is a subdivision at one point in time and they specifically exclude what is now the subject parcel because of slopes. And so they're given relief, whatever is needed for the others, and denied this. Sometime later, when memories die down, oh, I want to come in and divide or build on this property. There's a reason that was left fallow.
Well, why don't we ask Deirdre from planning? Mr. Burke, you'll have your chance in a moment when we have.
Okay, I have an answer for that.
So I'm just curious. I'd like to, if anything down the road, maybe if we end up reserving, I'd like to find out why this parcel was left when the others were built. I'm getting the feeling it was, as I said.
Maybe Deirdre has some information from planning.
I'm not too sure. I know there's other lots in the area that were not exactly at 40,000 square feet that were also allowed to be developed, but specifically this plot, I'm not too sure.
So it's in keeping them with the nature and character of the lots in the area because it's just a little short, right?
Right.
It's a little short. Unfortunately, due to that steep slope, it does get reduced. But as
But
I said,
even putting aside the steep slope, I mean, you created a lot that's only slightly under. So
correct.
Well, a big distinguishing factor is that this is the last one on the street. So engineering will comment on,
of course,
the road being a dead end and may require further dedication of the parcel should they be able to approve it. An application was submitted to engineering about a year ago, I think, for development of the parcel, and engineering said the application was incomplete and has never been resubmitted.
And yes, I did have conversations with the engineering department when we started this project. They didn't seem to think it would be an issue to develop that road coming in off Milne up to the point where we could proceed with the driveway, according with them, and also to go along with their other guidelines as far as drainage and grading as possible.
So engineering is saying they don't want a turnaround at the end of the street?
They didn't go too far as to say that. They said we had to bring the road as far as I had a minimal conversation with one of their employees over there, and they had said we would have to just bring it in far enough for a driveway.
Whatever. That's site plan.
Correct.
That's not us.
It would be back before you again because then it wouldn't have the lot.
Well, all right, but if that's the case, then that's
fine.
For your Deidre, can somebody tell me why the town gives it I think I know, but I think the record should be fleshed out, why the town calls it an effective lot area of 31,206. I get it because there are steep slopes, but what's the reason that the town considers it significantly less?
So it's yield. It's yield. It's a discussion of yield, just like it would be yield if it
wetlands. Same thing, right? You can't get yield off of wetlands.
Right. So do we look at this as is it 3/4 or i.e. 31,000, or do we look at it as at 38,000? I mean,
well, in terms of impact, it has the same. The impact is minimized by the gross size of the lot. The building area may be minimized significantly because of the slopes. So, and again, this is just my way of thinking. You get the benefit as far as I'm concerned because you meet all the setbacks, you meet everything. It just shrinks your building envelope quite a bit.
Deirdre, can you go back to the survey with the contours on it? So the board could at least see the proximity of the contour lines and understand where the slope is on the property.
Sorry, what was that?
The topographic survey showing the contour lines. So where the contour lines are closest together is where the grade is the steepest.
And that's sorry.
So you can see possibly why this lot hasn't been developed because it's probably pretty costly to develop it.
It will be a costly experience with the owner. He's prepared to do all that. And no grading will be, performed properly on all property lines and walls as needed with drainage to abide by, engineering standards.
Okay. It appears as if someone that's here, Mr. Burke, that would like to say something.
How you doing? Yes.
Hold on one second. Name and address for the record first.
John Burke, 108 Millmay Avenue.
Go ahead now.
I've been in my home for 22 years. I've looked to purchase that property years ago, way before Mr. Mata was interested in buying it. I was told that it had to be 1 acre. I was also told that if I went for a variance and made my property smaller, because I'm an acre, almost an acre and a quarter or acre 0.18, whatever it is, I would make that property whole and I would be able to build a house on it. I have a letter here from the town of Islip that I held on for the last long time now, that I would have to make the street longer, wider, and past my property line, which is quite a bit. By the cul-de-sac, my property goes back quite fast past that dead end sign. It wasn't affordable to me at the time, so I left it alone. The property was not subdivided. Computer Associates owned that property. When they purchased the property on the south side of Motor Parkway, which I can see from my property, when they purchased that, the build Computer Associates, that lot was part of that land. How, I don't know.
But sir, it had to have been subdivided from some other bigger lot.
Well, I'm just telling you what I was told.
Well, and I'm telling you that the practical reality is that it had to have been subdivided off of a bigger lot. Mr. Wexler's point is sometimes when that's done, the town wishes to see that lot remain vacant. In those instances, though, they'll typically make them significantly smaller, not just a tiny bit smaller. So I personally, I personally don't think that it's the case here. But that was the only point. So
okay, I'm just saying I went to buy the property. I wasn't denied. I was told I would have to go over a variance and make.
You were discouraged.
Well, they also told me I wouldn't be able to build it unless it was an acre. So if I made my property smaller, I could either incorporate it and make my lot almost 2 acres, or it would be 2 acres, or I could go for a variance, make my property zone and incorporate the land I lost onto that so I could build it. And then with the cul-de-sac being longer and the drainage and all the cesspools or whatever.
You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. So.
Well, I don't do this every day.
Mr. Burke, is that you're against this application?
Yes, of course I am.
Okay, and the reason you're against
honestly,
let me finish. Can I finish one second?
I wasn't finished
The reason
yet.
you're against the application is you can't have a reason because you wouldn't have a chance to buy it. You give us a reason why you're against this application.
The reason also, they knocked down all the trees way before we had a permit to knock them down.
Okay.
Believe me, talk to my friend, Mr. Stewart, down at the town of Islip.
When did they knock them down, sir?
7, 8 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
And he didn't have a permit. Then he got the permit. And all you do is hear every wedding they have over there, it's nonstop.
Wedding where?
In the Hyatt Hotel.
Oh,
what does that got to do with this parcel? What am I missing? I'm sorry.
Well,
They have
the
the wedding in
trees
the
are starting to grow back.
Oh, I see. It helped to mitigate the impacts of the wedding.
Absolutely.
I see. Okay, thank you. I didn't understand.
Okay, so you're against the application the way it stands due to the precedent.
Oh, he's not building a cul-de-sac. I mean, the other 2 homes he built on this block, every truck that came down this block wrecked my property, and I could go on and on. I wrote you guys a letter. I don't want to waste your time. I don't have all night either. If you had any idea that went on this block for the last 10 years because of this builder, you would think it was in a movie. It was made up. True story. No respect for anybody. Zero respect.
Thank you.
And that's what we're in for again. And guess what? It's not 1 acre, and I am opposed to it. Yes, I am. I'd rather have the trees and the landscape and grow back so I don't have to see the cars. All the lights in the parking lot, it's like Yankee Stadium down here at nighttime. Now it's starting to grow back a little bit.
Okay.
I brought this house, being the last house, and it being quiet. And now we're going to see Yankee Stadium, the lights, the noise, and it's not what it's not what I want.
Okay.
And then no cul-de-sac. I got the paper right here from you guys. You sent me.
Well, that's not us, sir, and we don't make that decision.
I don't do this every night.
No, I that's all right. And by the way, we don't see this type of application very often either. So, point well taken. Okay.
Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Just-
you.
If I could just let you guys know, the board know, that the width of lot will be determined by the amount of road
Frontage.
that gets built in front of this.
Right.
So if they were to propose to only snake a driveway in there from the corner of the property, from the terminus of that existing small cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
then they would be back before you with a width of lot relaxation.
Right, so
And
that
Mr. Burke, the board is in no way waiving engineering requirements right now at all.
my question was, to Mrs. Apka,
Yes.
you don't have any engineering requirements solidified with this, either cul-de-sac or driveway or whatnot with this property, correct?
Correct. No, I think the procedure with the town would be to approach the board first for a grant on the variance application, to see if we can get the variance grant, which I feel it would be,
I'm not the oldest member on this board with the most knowledge, but I believe that that's not correct. I believe that,
Okay.
in my opinion, and I could be wrong.
No, you're right. You can go either way.
Yeah, you can go either way. And I don't think that's correct. And I believe, in my opinion, that this is something that the situation needs.
Yeah, we'd hate to have you back here twice.
No, he says that.
Understood.
Oh,
As far as the engineering what would be the engineering concerns as far as if we were to abide by, if Mary's bringing up the width of lot, which we were aware of bringing the road down as far as we need to by town standards.
We're lawyers in a title company. We're the owner. We're not engineers. So I don't know if any of us are qualified to answer what engineering would do.
Well, and it may affect ultimately, Ms. Passaro's point is the width of your lot because of what the road requirements are and how far they make you develop that road, right? So,
Understood.
The fact is that we may grant you this variance and you may come back now on width of lot and we may deny you on that. So you're probably better off, I think, presenting it when you have a final determination on that, but that's your option. You could do it however you wish.
As far as not getting a decision tonight and then trying to approach engineering for more standards.
Take an adjournment, open adjournment.
Yeah, and you can find out what engineering is going to require of you there, and that's going to determine your width of lot and whether or not you need more relief from us.
Well, the width of lot would be standard of 150, correct?
Ms. Passaro, is that correct?
If the whole part of Millmain at the street property line was developed. I'll refresh the board's memory. We saw an application on this on Livingston Avenue recently, similar at the terminus, the westerly terminus of Livingston Avenue. The applicant came to the board and sought permission to build on, they called it 50 feet because they sought to abandon the remaining, let's say 100 feet. It actually terminated at wetlands. That was part of their argument for why they thought it would be better to abandon it. The board approved it, saying that, well, they'll have to go through site plan approval anyway, and it's still going through site plan approval. They came back to us then for a height of a detached garage and some accessory structures. But in any case, the zoning will determine the width of lot to be that which is paved in front of the subject parcel. Unless you seek to abandon it. I did see some comments in the engineering section when they rejected the plans approximately a year ago. There was contact made with the applicant's representative, and I think that it was indicated to engineering they were waiting to resubmit because they were.
I would just, in light of all of this, I'd be far more comfortable making a decision on this when we have all the facts in terms of what is going to be required for that road.
I agree with the vice chairman.
So you suggest that we approach engineering to review this in a more formal matter before we come back to the board?
Yes, sir.
You had indicated to engineering that you were contemplating abandoning the terminus of Millmay.
Okay.
Is that true?
Is that true, Mr. Zapka?
We had contacted when we approached this project. We had asked them, as you said before, as far as quote unquote snaking a driveway, which we don't want to do. We wanted to actually bring the road in as far as we need to get the driveway in, which would have been at least 100 feet. So it sounds like you're saying I would have to come back and ask for 100-foot width with abandonment of the remaining 100 of Millmay, correct?
You're not showing a driveway on this plan, are you?
We have a
Nope.
driveway coming onto Milne Avenue. It's just,
Isn't this all engineering driven? I mean, I think we're spinning our wheels at this point.
It sounds like it's that you're requesting engineering questions to be answered before you look for an approval to grant this application.
Yes, that's what I'm asking for. My colleagues may disagree with me.
No, I think.
I think that's a perfectly fine request.
I agree with you.
That way we know what it is we're deciding on. That's all.
Okay, so it's the majority of the Milne Avenue. That's the questions I have to bring up to the engineering.
That's correct.
Okay.
Open adjournment?
Yes, leave it open.
Does anyone further wish to be heard in this application? The board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant an open adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great Thanksgiving, Ms. Scepter.
Happy Thanksgiving,
thank
Mrs.
you.
Zapka. Happy Thanksgiving, Mr. and Mrs. Burke.
Yeah.
All right, next application, number 225-20, adjourned from March 10th, 2020. Denali Vanegas and Yolanda de la Cruz, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to ISO Town Code Section 68-602, to leave awning having a front yard of 20.8 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 34 feet, and to leave addition to detached garage 11 feet by 18.4 feet, having a side yard of 1.2 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence Side District, east side of Grant Avenue, number 27, 745.8 feet north of Suffolk Avenue, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We have counsel.
Mr. Garcia.
There we go.
You have to unmute yourself, sir.
How's that?
There you go. Welcome.
My name is Grigori Garupa for the law office of Carlos Garcia. Mr. Garcia could not join us today. He's medically indisposed right now.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your name? It was just hard to hear you.
Sorry, Grigori Garupa, last name Garupa.
Thank you.
Address 662nd Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Yeah, this is an application for an accessory apartment, as well as for an owning in the front yard, which will reduce the setback from 34 feet to 28.8 feet.
Why were we adjourned from March? Do you remember why we got adjourned it in March?
There was an issue with the driveway. The building department would not recommend approval unless we fix the driveway. We have, I think July, I spoke to someone, and then I sent Mary a copy of the approval from the building department as to the driveway issue. That has been done, so we agreed to have this application. I would say calendared for the hearing.
Mr. Sarah, is that correct?
Yes, it is true. The driveway was modified to meet engineering's requirements.
Thank
It
you
was
so much.
previously too wide.
Thank you.
And the awning?
For the awning, there would be on the front yard requesting a reduction of the setback from 34 feet to 20.8 feet. Sorry. And the last one would be a detached garage on the rear yard, which is about 11 feet by 18.4 feet, and side yard setback of 1.2 feet instead of the 10 feet. Now, looking at the awning issue, I think it's not out of character of the houses in the area. There are houses with similar awnings within the same street. The detached garage side yard on the rear is located on the rear of the house. It's also towards the rear of the adjacent house, so there is no privacy issue there. I think the 1.2 side yard setback would not be out of character as well to the area, to the properties within the area.
But you have a CO for a frame garage that's attached on the property. This frame detached structure, it's 1.2. There's no CO for right now, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, that is my understanding. Yeah.
And so you have this fairly large detached structure that's 1.2 feet off of the property line instead of 10. How do we have any precedent in the area for relief of that?
Well, there are sheds and detached.
Do you have proof of that? They were approved by this board, 1.2 instead of 10.
No, I don't have it immediately right now, but looking at the aerial photography of the immediate
That doesn't
area.
mean they're legal, That doesn't mean they're legal, sir.
Ms. Ryan, is there any precedent?
There's no precedent for 1.2, but there was an older ZBA case. It was on the CO and I looked it up, and it was noted that this garage has been there since 1968 at least. But I forget if the ZBA case was granting the garage or if it was just been there, so they kind of just were approving something else.
I see that, but it appears that this garage was expanded too.
Oh, yes, that's true. I'm just saying that the garage itself was there since 1968. There's no precedent for anything built at that small of a side yard.
Is there any way we can quickly pull that ZBA decision up or no?
Did I not just share it? Let's see.
Sorry, man, I didn't see it.
No.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's scary when I start to share. No. Okay, so come on, share, computer, sound. Oh, there we go. There's the share button. Can you see it?
Yeah. Permission to subdivide.
Now I'm going to take a photo, because it's the only way I know how to share, of the proposed subdivision map.
Well, wait, there's 2 pages of this decision. I'm only
Yep.
seeing the first.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I will just take this, what we call a widow in the printing.
So let me just really quick. It says to erect conforming dwelling on conforming lot and to leave detached garage having side yard of 1.6 instead of required 4 feet. That leads me to believe that this garage was much smaller than it is now because it needs 10 feet now. And I could
Well,
be.
did it need 10 feet then? If it was this size, I don't know.
It says at 1.4 instead of 4 in this ZBA.
Right, but what I'm saying is this size garage might have only needed 4 feet.
I think we're approaching the point where there's too many questions that need to be answered to decide this tonight.
Well, I don't know about that. It's 2007, right? The decision.
Yes.
So my question, I guess, to Ms. Pissarro and or Ms. Ryan is, was it 10 feet then as well? That's my question, Mr. Chair.
Same requirement, but the small additions were not constructed to the garage. So it looks like the garage on the survey,
So
which I'm
the
now.
chairman is correct then that the garage was expanded, thereby implicating a greater side setback, right?
Yes, seems that way.
Okay.
Not sure yet, but it seems that way.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to rule out the possibility.
Yeah, and it appears on the survey that I have that someone took a yellow highlighter and marked up the easterly side of this detached frame garage, making me believe that that's the reason why this got moved to 10 feet now instead of 4. So
yeah, there's like you can't see the photo, but there's a shed roof addition to, looks like the front and the back of the garage. They're much lower in height than the ridge of the roof.
Okay.
Are we looking at we're looking at the garage on the rear of the house, not the one that's attached to the house, and the additions attached to the house.
No, we're looking at the detached garage, the detached frame garage, which appears to be expanded, and the reason why your client needs 10 feet instead of 4.
Well, I'm not aware. Was there an addition to the garage that you made?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can share this.
Well, whether or not your client made it, since 2007, there's been an addition to the garage.
Well, we can't. I don't know if there was an addition because my client.
So why don't I recommend this? Would you like to take some more time to research this matter a little further? We can give you another date and you can come back with a little more concrete evidence for this detached structure.
I could do that. I'll submit some matters to Mary. Would that be the procedure? I'll
That's
take some
fine.
photos as well because my client is not aware of any additions. I'll take a look at the old ZBA decision if there was, the garage has been expanded to make it
I
larger.
think that may help your argument if you can find some more information for this application.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to give it an adjournment, or do you want to close the hearing and give the applicant like 30 or 45 days to submit, and then the 60-day clock will start? Which
I would recommend the latter, but you guys tell me.
I'm all for the latter.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do, sir. Okay, we're going to give you, what do you need, 30, 45 days for reserve? Give you 30, 45 days to submit?
30 days should be fine. I could probably do it a little earlier.
Remember, it's the holiday, sir. Take the 45.
All right, I'll take it. I like the word of wisdom.
45 days to submit, and then at that point, we can start our 62-day decision-making period at that point, once you submit after the 45 days. Is that good?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion, what are we, open adjournment we're doing?
No, we reserve.
Motion to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so once you submit, sir, you have 45 days to do so, and then we'll move it from there.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Happy
holiday.
Thanksgiving. And please give Mr. Garcia our regards and wishes for a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Hey, do we have anything to read in?
We do. Sorry, fellas.
How many you got? How many?
3 that were formerly reserved
Yeah.
and just 6 accessory apartment renewals.
Okay.
Give me a second here.
So with respect to the accessory apartment renewals, and Ms. Pissarro can read those numbers into the record.
They are applications number 676-20 through 681-20.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the renewals be granted for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I might have taken a little bit of an easy way for Will and I in this upcoming week and picked 3 approvals. The board has voted these to read in. 2 were for accessory structures and 1 was for a roofed over patio. So they are applications number 261-20, Paul and Margaret Dill. It is 578-20, Nelda Escobar, and 472-20, Hunter and Giacconi. Do you want to do them all at once, or?
Yes, I'll make the motion that we approve all of them
And
in
I make
accordance
second.
with the written decision of the state.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else, Ms. Pissarro?
That's all for the public hearing.
Okay,
Give
I
us-
would make a motion then to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Can we just shut the YouTube live off?
Yep.
Yeah.